Actually, that's a good question, because Blue Prism in our organisation was born in the business, and it was what we call business managed IT. And once the challenges arrived, it was technology then coming in to try and put that technology governance around it. I think, you know, therein lies another mistake that perhaps we made, and we made in the bank, was that we didn't look at Blue Prism as a new technology. We looked at it as just a business tool, and it's so much more. You need to treat it as a new piece of technology and have the right governance and processes around it. However, to your point, you need to be able to enable a business to influence the use of it directly. Because it is to deploy, it is a product you can deploy very quickly. It's about technology being ready and enabled to allow the business to work in with you to do that. But as you say, it really needs to be, it's a brand new piece of technology. You need to treat it that way. And treating it as just a business tool that you can use off the desktop is a recipe for disaster, in my view.
Yeah, I think the other thing you've got to consider with this is, you know, and Greg and I have talked about this, and we don't highlight this enough when we're bringing in these kinds of kits. You can bring in all the tools you want. If you have a data structure in your culture, in your environment, that is 50% or better unstructured, and that's the environment you're going in to automate with our tools, it doesn't work. You know, the RPA platforms do not handle unstructured data. So you run into all kinds of complications. You asked Greg about his lessons learned. Probably what he also didn't share were some of the same things that we see across, you know, a number of different customers that you could ask, which are things like, you know, the people management side of this mess. Because you make business cases based on what information you had at the time and the knowledge you had. The problem gets to be is that you don't know that these tools can't deal with semi-structured and structured data, and how hard it is to automate a process that you can only get about 10 to 30% when you built business cases thinking, oh, I'm going to automate the whole thing, or 70 or 80%. It doesn't work. It just simply does not work. So, you know, there are so many of these things now that we have a much better grasp of. We understand that we can't deal with unstructured data. We can't even deal with a lot of semi-structured data. So, you know, building business cases, even the re-engineering of the thing doesn't solve the unstructured data scenario. You've got to do a lot more and build out different types of ecosystems around automation. And, you know, again, I think it lends itself better to thinking about this as a digital worker. You know, it's not necessarily just a tool, it's a digital worker. And what's the operating model that a human worker needs? That same operating model has to be built around a digital worker. So if you're going to put a digital workforce into your environment, then what's the constructs by which that operating environment needs to be built? And if we think about it too much as just a tool, we'll run into problems all the time, because we'll go try to plug the tool in and then wham, it gets us 10 to 20%. If we think about it as a digital worker, as we do a human worker, and what are the capabilities a human worker has that we're now going to try to build into a digital worker, we're going to put the operating model, just as we do with an HR department, a tech department, you know, a legal department, a control environment. We'll put the same thing around the digital worker as we did our human workforce. So I think it's that transitionary shift of what we've learned over the last at least 3 to 4 years that it's been big in the BFSI community, of now, because of the number of people that are using it, to say we don't have to make those same mistakes anymore. And I think those that are struggling now are probably repeating those same lessons that, you know, at least we've learned. And, you know, it's trying to help those folks not make those same challenging mistakes, because it will take them a lot longer to get there. And
to add to that, you know, I think despite the newspaper articles, humans are smarter than robots, and a robot will do what you tell it. Now, the unstructured data example is a really good one. When a human gets unstructured data and it doesn't quite work, they'll work around it. A robot will do exactly what you tell it. And so you need to understand that when you're trying to automate processes, because as Jon just said, you'll only be able to automate a percentage of the process. There will still be some parts of it where you either A, need human interaction, or you need to re-engineer it, or both. So thinking about those things up front really does give you bigger benefits down the back.